Is your microphone working? I think it is. It's not working. Is it off or muted? It's not muted. No, it says that there's no sound coming from you, which is different. No, I don't think so. Sorry, I thought we were all ready to go. Huh. Oh, great. Now they're both working. Of course. No. They're. One more time.
We good?
We're good.
Good? All good?
We're good.
All right. Hello, for those of you who don't know, I'm William. I'm a member here at Grace, and I'm also a firefighter, and I've been wonderfully invited by Pastor to talk about my career.
You down.
There you go. Okay, so I started off as a volunteer with Colleton County Fire Rescue in the fall of 2021, and that's kind of when I started kind of learning the basics of the job, started learning the trucks, the procedures, how things run on fire scenes and accident scenes. And then in December of 2022, I was enrolled in the in-house fire school through Colleton County. So they had South Carolina Fire Academy instructors come in from Columbia, and they hosted an in-house fire school for some of the volunteers and other recruits for Colleton. And we went through that. They taught us, interior fire attack, how to maneuver ladders on scenes, all that good stuff. And then I got my certs. And then April of 2023, I went full-time at Dorchester County Fire Rescue, and I worked there full-time at the Jedburgh Fire Station. And then earlier this year in May, I got an opportunity to work at Darlington Raceway and work with NASCAR, and I was a pit road firefighter for the Xfinity Series race on Mother's Day weekend. So basically my job was to be in the pit stall for one of the drivers when they had the fuel in the pit stall, and I was there to basically put out any fuel fires that might have arose, or if the car caught on fire, to help get the driver out of the car. And then I was to be in the pit stall from the time they brought the fuel to the pit stall before the race until the fuel was taken out after the race. And then we had firefighters in every pit stall, so I was the primary firefighter for my pit stall, and then the secondary one for the ones on either side of me. Cool. So daily routine, so basically in a nutshell, how our shifts usually look in the mornings, we'll come in, put all of our stuff, in the locker rooms and get our gear out of the locker rooms, put them on the trucks, get our fill-ins from the crews. Hey, this is the calls that we ran. This is the equipment that we use. If there's anything out of service or anything that needs to be looked at. Then we'll check off all the trucks ourselves. Even if they tell us, hey, this isn't working, we'll go ahead and check it off anyway in case they forgot how to use it. And if it's still not working, then we'll put in a work ticket for it so our county doesn't get on us about having broken stuff on our trucks. And then once all of that is done and situated, we'll do training around the station, or do anything else like cleaning or go out and we'll do like pre-plans, so we'll go visit different local businesses and basically get any information, like how many people are there during the day, or like if they have any hazardous materials on site, and if there's any incidents after the business hours and there's nobody there, ways that we can get in and people we can contact if we need to make entry into the building. So what we do a lot more than just put out fires and look cool. We do, so we do run a lot of medical calls. In fact, I've probably run a lot more medical calls than I have structure fires. So we'll run, the way my department works for Dorchester County is we keep a med bag on our engines. So we have basic first aid supplies, like we have an O2 tank, we have airway instruments, and we also have bleeding kits. So if the calls are serious enough, or if EMS has an extended ETA to the call, they'll send us out to make patient contact before EMS gets there. That way we can fill them in on what's going on before they get there, and we can monitor the patient while they're on the way. And we also do car accident mitigation. I'm sure you've probably seen many wrecks around here. You see the fire trucks on scene. So we do carry extrication equipment on our trucks. We get the jaws of life, the cutters, and the rams, and we use that to cut people out of cars if they're trapped and they can't get out, or if they're too injured and they cannot move. And we also carry struts and rescue jacks to lift up cars if we have to, and secure them if they're on their side or on their roof, so they don't roll around if we have to crawl inside and pull the patients out. Hazmat, so for Colleton County, we do have a full-on hazmat unit that we staff. We respond to any like massive chemical spills or chemical fires or anything involving really dangerous chemicals or dangerous substances. They'll send us out, and not every department has one. It just kind of depends on what they need. But a lot of times, like, they'll run mutual aids. Like Colleton's hazmat will run out here to Dorchester, or if Dorchester County needs it, they'll have Colleton's and they'll have Somerville's. ARF, which is aircraft rescue firefighting. So these are like the fire trucks and the firemen you'll find at airports, and their jobs are to rescue any passengers from any plane crashes or any aircraft fires and put them out. And we also have water rescue, so you'll see the teams will have boats or little skiffs, and we'll go out on the river if someone's stuck or trapped. And some departments do have fireboats that do have water cannons on them, so if there's like a big shipping vessel that catches fire, they have the ability to put that out while it's all the way in the water, if it's too far from the mainland to hit it from the mainland. And then technical rescue, which is rope rescue, so if you're trapped like in a really like deep hole, or if you're like way up high on like in a tower or anything and you need to get down, we have rescue teams that are trained to do rope systems, and you can lift out of the hole or you can lower off of an elevated position. All right, so this center vehicle right here, this is Colleton's ARF unit. So this is our airport crash truck. So it's kind of shaped that way because we've got hoses in these two compartments right here. So if we need to pull the lines off the truck and extend into the actual plane itself. And then we also have a foam cannon right up here and up here. So if we need to spray foam and douse the aircraft with foam, if it's a fuel fire, then we can do that. We also have a lot of other various equipment on board, as well as like extinguishers and ladders.
Getting back to the medical aspect, are all the firefighters trained to be EMTs or basic first aid, or how does that work?
So the different levels of medical certifications that firefighters can be trained in is EMR, which is what I am right now, and that's like basic first aid. And then you have your EMTs, which is BLS, like basic life support, and then you have paramedics, which is advanced life support. So not every department has EMTs and paramedics. Some just like Dorchester County, we just run as EMR. That's all we require. But if you do have your EMT, then props, and we can let you work as an EMT. But, and some fire departments also staff their own medic units. So Colleton County is a good example. We actually have our own ambulances, so we won't send our engines to a call unless it's like really serious, because we have our own ambulances in our stations, and we have paramedics on each one. Okay, so in-home fire safety, so smoke detectors, if you have them, make sure to change your batteries every 6 months, or really, if you want to make it easy, whenever you change your clocks, change the batteries, or at least test them, make sure that they work. Most in-home smoke alarms do last for approximately 10 years before they eventually stop working. And these can be found at any hardware store like Lowe's, Home Depot, Ace, True Value. Any of those stores, they will carry them. And if you happen to not be able to purchase one, if you contact your local fire department, they should be able to send some people out and they can actually bring some and install them for you at no charge. And whenever, if you in the instance you have a kitchen fire like on the stove, like a grease fire, do not put water on a grease fire, because what will happen is the water will react with the grease and it'll make the fire burn a lot more. So if you have a grease fire, if you can, put a lid on the pot or a pan that's on fire, or use an extinguisher such as this one right here, or if you don't have that, use baking soda and pour that all over the pan, and that will suffocate the fire and put it out. Cool. So again, fire extinguishers. So fire extinguishers, they're great to have in the home, especially if something were to catch on fire. If you got one, chances are you can put it out and not even have to call us. So this right here, this is actually the one from over here. This is an ABC extinguisher. So what that means is that this can be used to put out 3 different types of fires. So this can be used to put out solids fires, like trash fires, like wood, paper, or cloth. You can use it for liquids fires, like fuel fires, or even grease fires, or anything like that. And then electrical fires. So if you have an outlet that's sparking and catching on fire, any other electrical equipment, you can use one of these. Now these are filled with like a dry chem powder that will, like when you spray it out, it'll suffocate and cover the fire. And now these are pressurized, so just kind of be careful when handling these. Try not to drop them, because the contents are pressurized and it could explode. And so the proper way to use these, so you have these pins on here that hold it so you can carry it and not discharge the extinguisher. So you pull the pin out, and you take the base, aim at the base of the flame, because that's where the substance that is on fire is at, and plus that's where the fire is the hottest, is at the base of the flame. Then you discharge the extinguisher, and then you want to sweep like this. And whenever you do use these, make sure that you have more than one mean of egress when fighting fires with these, because if you only have one, I wouldn't try to fight it, because in case something happens, like the fire were to spread and block your exit, then you become trapped. And if you fully discharge the extinguisher and you have nothing left, then that's really bad news.
Pastor has a question.
Where do you keep your egrets?
The means of egress? So that's exits. So those doors right there, that's a mean of egress. Exits, that's a mean of egress. So if you have a fire over here, as long as these 2 doors are open, you can fight all the fire you want. But now if it spreads over here and blocks that door off, then I would just make your way out and call the fire department. Oh yeah, so this chart here is just kind of a visualization of what I was explaining before, just like different types of extinguishers, because every type of extinguisher is a little bit different. So you have some fire extinguishers that's just pressurized water, and generally these are going to be silver in color, and these can only be used for like solids fires, like wood, paper, textile, anything like that. Then you have some that are only for flammable liquid fires, and some that are only for gas fires.
Which one should be in the home for the average home?
So the average home, you would want to have one like this here, which is an ABC extinguisher. It's an ABC extinguisher. So this can put out solids fires, liquids fires, and electrical fires. Yep. And then you also have CO2, which is mainly just for electrical fires, and those have like a really big nozzle on those. And those you got to be really careful, because that's pressurized CO2, and if you come in contact with the CO2 as it's being extinguished, you could be burned from the contents being really cold. So firefighter gear. So when going into any structure fires or any IDLH atmosphere or any areas of immediate danger to life and health, we have to have our proper PPE on or protective equipment before we can go in and either rescue any victims or mitigate any hazards. And there's different types of PPE that we have for different calls. So mainly, we'll, like this here, this is our PPE for structure fires and car accidents. And then we'll have medical gloves and masks and safety glasses for any medical calls. And on the hazmat units, we'll have special hazmat suits for any hazmat incidents, as well as air packs. So if we need to go into a fire, we'll don all of our bunker gear here, as well as an air pack. So turnout gear, this is like the most common type you'll see us wearing if we are wearing any PPE other than medical gloves. You can see how. Yeah, I'll move it so y'all can see. This is what we would wear the most, because generally when we're, mostly we're gonna run fires and car wrecks, if not medical calls. All right, so a little bit more in-depth to bunker gear. So this is, like I said before, this is what we wear in fires. This is designed to block out the heat and keep out any smoke or any flames from hitting us. If you look on the inside, it's layered, so there's 3 different layers. So you have your outer shell, which is where all the reflective stuff is and where our department patches are. As well, you have your moisture barrier inside, and then you have your inner thermal liner. So on this jacket, the 2 inner layers are connected, so this would be the moisture barrier, and then this part right here would be my thermal barrier. So this is what keeps me safe and all other firefighters safe when we're inside of any burning buildings or fighting car fires or anything like that. I'm sorry? So the moisture barrier is actually to keep our, like when we sweat inside of the fire, that helps keep the fire from heating that sweat up to a water vapor and burning us. So this jacket by itself weighs about maybe 3 to 4 pounds, kind of depending on how much stuff you have on it. Mine's a little bit heavier because I have my flashlight and my glove strap on here. The whole ensemble with the helmet, pants, and jacket by itself is roughly 10 pounds, and then everything with the air pack, it can be up to 40 pounds. And then with tools, it can almost go up to over 100 pounds. So if you have a 100-pound firefighter, as he is like this, you put him in full gear, he could weigh almost over 200 pounds. Yeah. When wearing the gear, yes, especially during the summers, it is very hot. So we always make sure to keep extra water on our trucks and keep it cold because it does get really warm underneath those coats. All right, and so our jackets also have a thing called a DRD, which is a downed rescuer dragger, or basically it's just a rescue harness that's inside of the jacket. So you flip up this flap here, and it's a piece of webbing that's inside the jacket. So if I myself go down or another firefighter goes down inside of a fire and our RIT teams have to come in and rescue me or I have to go rescue someone else, we can pull this and it wraps around my arms and then my back, and it basically becomes like a harness, and they can drag me out if we have to get out really quickly. Or what we can also do is we'll carry webbing in our pockets, and we can also tie harnesses that way if we need to move any downed firemen. Yes, so all of our bunker jackets do have these, and different brands have them too. So helmets. So these are our firefighter helmets. These are the New Yorker style helmets. Mine's a composite one, so it's just a plastic New Yorker style helmet, but you can get leather helmets, but they're really expensive, but also really cool. But they all serve the same exact purpose. They protect us from any falling debris or anything inside of the fire, as well as our eyes, like they have this here to kind of help protect our face. And when we're on car accidents, I have like flip down safety visors on here. So if I need to cut a car open or I need to cut a windshield off, I can flip this down and I can protect my eyes if I don't have any regular safety glasses on hand. And then we also have a Nomex flap on here on the back to help protect our necks from the heat when we're inside fires as well. And this tag right here, so for Colleton County, the way we do our accountability system is we'll give our tags to our incident commander, And that tells him who's inside, who's outside, and what everyone's doing, as well as these numbers on the back here. So if we're on scene and someone needs to find out who I am or find me, they can say, hey, what's Miller's unit number? And say, it's 191. Then they'll look for this number on the back of my helmet. And that's just the way to keep track of where we are and keep us safe on fire scenes. That way someone always knows where we are. So if we need to go in and rescue somebody, we already know where they are and how we can get to them. Air packs. So when we're inside structure fires, I unfortunately don't have one with me today, we wear air packs, which is basically a metal frame and straps, and it has an air cylinder on the back that allows us to breathe when we're inside really smoky conditions. So these are not filled with oxygen, but rather the air that we're breathing right now. So like what we're breathing in right now is basically what's inside of those cylinders. And there's different size cylinders, so they generally could last us 30 to 45 minutes of air depending on the size of the tank and the workload that we're undergoing. Because the more that we work, the more we breathe, the more we're sucking down the air, then the faster it goes down. But generally though, I've never ran out of air because we're really never in a fire for like really more than 10 minutes just because of their workload and just the heat. And plus, we have so many crews on scene, we're able to switch out people and rotate out. So air packs are also equipped with a thing called the pass device. And what pass devices are, it's like a motion-sensed alarm that's on like the lower part of the pack. So if I fall out in a fire or someone else and the pack doesn't move for about 10 seconds, it starts sounding off an alarm to alert anyone else that might be in the building with me, or anyone maybe even outside if I'm close enough to a window, that, hey, we got a firefighter down. And some packs do have the technology where you can actually have your own tags for them and scan into the pack. And the battalion chiefs have a computer in their trucks that can see how much air I have, and they can see if my pass device is going off. So that's a really good step in technology, that way to keep me safe and keep all the other firemen safe when we're inside these buildings. And this also helps the RIT teams that go inside to get them to help locate where they are. Yeah, so another thing, I'm glad you about that. So when we're breathing off the cylinder, we do have a low air alarm that we have. So we actually have a light up display on the actual regulator on the mask, and it tells us how much air that we have left. We also have a little console on our shoulder right here that tells us how much air is in our cylinder. And once we reach a certain PSI that's left in our tank, our regulator will start vibrating and basically telling us, hey, you need to start making your way out. You're getting low on air. Because once that starts going off, if I keep going in, I could lose it. I can lose all my air. But now if that does happen, and I'm with someone who has a lot more air than I do, there's this thing right here called an emergency buddy breathing system right here. So if I run out of air and it's like I'm in a pinch, I can hook it into another firefighter's air pack. And we can both breathe off of their cylinder and we can make our way out. Or they can connect into mine if they need to. All right, rapid dressing. So when firefighters get a call, we got to get dressed, geared up very quickly, especially if it's a structure fire. We need to get our stuff on and get on the truck and go. So whenever we were in the academy, they gave us 2 minutes to get all of this on plus an air pack. And if we did not meet that 2-minute mark, they either made us do it again or we had to redo the class. So thankfully, I did mine in 1:58 with 2 seconds to spare. Yep. So, and then, like I said, failure to do so, we will have to redo the class, which I really did not want to do because I'm not doing fire school again. That sucked, especially in the summer when it was cold. It was still, even in the fall, it was hot. So I don't want to do that again. Okay, I guess I will now give you a demonstration of our rapid dress and how fast we can get our stuff on.
Oh, no.
I usually have my gear set up so I can get it up, but I have to hang it up on the truck.
This is what we look like when we're going inside structure fires. Hey, can you now hear me? Can you hear me good? Yeah. Yeah, so this is how we look when we go inside structure fires, other than the airbags. So if you see this coming through the shadows and smoke, do not be alarmed. We're here to help you. I come in peace. And this valve here, we also have a wristlet here to protect our wrists. And when we're fully clothed and dressed up, we have no skin showing at all. So we're fully enclosed in these and we're protected from the smoke.
If you will set it out the night before, you can.
Are there any questions?
Can you give him his mic back?
Many years ago, we had the Charleston fire that died, all 9 of them, and the furniture doesn't.
Oh, yeah.
They lost track of how many people are firefighters in that building. Because now we're sitting in 2 or 3 different counties close together, you could have multiple trucks involved in a large fire.
Yes.
Is there one
Pastor.
person or one person that would know how many are in that building and who are they?
So, in the
Pastor.
case of
That mic isn't working anymore.
So for the case of that fire, that unfortunately took the lives of those 9 Charleston firemen, that whole scene, the way it happened was just kind of a huge mess. Like kind of no one really knew what was happening because the fire was reported in the back of the structure where the loading docks and stuff were, like in a dumpster. But when they got there, the whole thing was torched. I think they just kind of panicked a little, but that incident really led to a massive change in our scene and accountability. That really kind of led to a huge change across the entire country, the way we account for firefighters on scene. And the way we do it now, like if we have multiple agencies responding to a fire, such as like if Dorchester County and Somerville Fire run to the same call, we'll send chiefs from both departments to that call. And then we have updated like incident command systems. So our chiefs will come together and then they'll game plan a method of attack for the fire or any other accident mitigation that's needed. And that way they can keep track of everyone who's on scene. And I know, like, and even with my helmet here, we have our accountability tags now, as well as on my helmet for Dorchester County. I have little Velcro tags with my name on it, and then we have little passports where all of our crew members put their names on it, and then we turn that into the chief so they know, hey, Engine 410's on scene, this is who's on the truck, and this is what they're gonna be doing. So that led to a huge, but that call, the Charleston 9 fire, did lead to a huge change in accountability for firefighters at structure fires and any other accidents.
It was a big change, especially for command and control.
Mm-hmm.
Fires, as sad as it was, it ended up being training videos for a lot of other fire departments.
Oh yeah, yeah, I was saying that fire really impacted our job as a whole, like across the world, even like especially across the United States. That really changed a lot of stuff, like the way they did things and a lot of it.
They had down there, they didn't really establish a good incident commander.
Yeah, that's.
The fire chief of Charleston was on the telephone telling the other people what to do. He wasn't even on the scene.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, but I'm old school firefighter.
Yeah, that's so nowadays they do not allow that. So the incident commander.
Allowed at that time.
Yeah.
That's why he was no longer
Oh yeah.
fire chief.
Yeah, so our incident commanders now, they are not allowed to have command of a scene that they are not physically at. So you cannot change command unless you're changing it to someone else that's on scene and not someone who's on their way there or somewhere else. Yeah. Yeah.
Have any of the fire chiefs been named after Indian chiefs?
No. So the chiefs, that's just a ranking that we give them. They're not named after the Indian chiefs.
What kind of training do you have to have before you can be a firefighter? I mean, do you go to a training camp? Do you go to school? What?
So for firefighters in my departments that I'm with, we had to go through fire school. So there's different ways that they can do it. A lot of departments, they'll have their own in-house fire school. Like if they're chiefs, so they have members there that are instructors that are certified through the South Carolina Fire Academy, they can hold their own in-house classes for people that don't have their Fire 1 or Fire 2 certifications. And if needed, they can also be sent to the state academy and do that. And then if they go up to the state academy, if they have no certifications at all, they'll come out with their Fire 1, Fire 2, and some even their EMT, if they choose to do that. So it kind of depends if you go to the academy or if you do it in-house. I know for mine, we started in the fall of 2022, so like around October or September, and then our class ended in December. But if you go up to the academy, it's only for about 8 weeks, 10 weeks. But the way I did mine, though, was we had to do ours on like a volunteer schedule because I was still a volunteer with Colleton, and I wasn't able to go through it like 5-6 days a week. So they had us just go in and do it on weekends, like every other weekend from like September to December. But it's still all the exact same training, all the same classes and everything else. So everything that I learned at my fire school in Colleton is the same thing that all the other cadets were learning in Columbia. Yeah.
How quickly can you get undressed?
How quickly can I get undressed? Not fast enough. Yeah, so they don't time us for undressing our gear when we're on scene, just whenever we're actually getting our stuff on to actually go respond.
Are there ever any times where you have to turn on the siren and start driving just to get practice of driving the fire truck in normal traffic and,
So when we're in normal traffic, we are by law not allowed to use lights and sirens unless we are going to an emergency. But we do have driving courses that we set up in like really big parking lots or just like open areas where we can turn the sirens and lights on to have drivers who aren't really too experienced practice getting comfortable with driving our trucks. And then we also, the South Carolina Fire Academy also offers driving classes for people who wish to become engineers or start learning to drive the fire trucks. There's a couple different classes that they can take to help learn how to operate the truck. They have the EVDT class, which initially teaches them this is how you drive the fire trucks, how you can position on scenes or at car wrecks. And then you can go into your pumping classes, which teach you how to operate the pumps that are on the trucks so you can send water to the firemen that are inside the buildings. And if you want work on a ladder company. They have aerial ops classes where you can learn how to operate the big ladders that are mounted on top of the trucks. Yeah.
Do you know a fire chief named Mr. Alex?
Alex, what's his last name?
I don't know. He's our next door neighbor.
Do you know what department he's with? I don't know him. What was your question?
Did you think of any other jobs before firefighting?
I did before. Oh, oops. So before I became a firefighter, I actually was thinking about going into aeronautical engineering or aerospace manufacturing, or even maybe in the Air Force. But what really led me to go into firefighting was my dad getting a job full-time at Colleton County, and then watching him go through his Fire One and his initial training to get his certifications. And the more I was watching, I'm like, okay, this is actually kind of cool. So one day, I went with my buddy, and we both signed up and became volunteers just to kind of learn the job and just kind of really see what it was about, but not have to worry about fully dedicating a 20-year career to doing it. And then the more that I learned, the more interested I got. I'm like, okay, I want to do this full time. So then I signed up for the fire school, got my certs, and then I went full time with Dorchester County. And honestly, I love it. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Is it true that there's a drill in downtown that you have to back up the fire truck into the port in like a certain amount of seconds?
Oh, yeah, so that's part of our one of our driving classes that we do. So one of the skills that we have to do is it's called alley docking, and that's supposed to simulate backing the fire truck or any other apparatus either into a really tight space, like an alleyway, or even back into the station in the engine bays. But we're not necessarily timed on it when we're doing the class, as long as we don't hit any cones or the instructor is watching us back up. Yeah.
Where's your actual location that you start from? Where's your firehouse at?
So my full-time station for Dorchester County, I work at Station 10 in Jedburgh. It's off of Highway 78.
When you call in, or a person calls in that there's a fire in their house and they give an address to that person in the emergency room, does he or she decide on what house is going to go first to fight that fire and follow up?
So
And where the traffic is, because if you plan the route, you may get around all this traffic we have now.
So the way they send us out is it's just by whoever's closest. So if there's a fire, let's say our dispatch center off of Deming Way, our station's the closest, so we'll be the first due engine, and then engine 305 for Somerville, they're the second closest, and then they'll come in after us, and then anyone else based on the locations of their stations. As like with the traffic and stuff, that's why we got big red trucks with really loud sirens and air horns. But I mean, the traffic really isn't too much of an issue in my area unless we get a call like right around rush hour and everyone's leaving Somerville going back to Ridgeville, or everyone's leaving St. George, Ridgeville going back into Somerville. But usually though, it's not bad. We've never had any issues with traffic running calls because generally people move out of our way. We've had a couple instances where people were being oblivious, but we dealt with them accordingly. Yeah.
What happens if a firefighter has a fire in his house?
Then, so if a fireman has a fire in his own home, he'll have to call his fire department to come rescue him and come put his house out. And people are probably gonna make fun of him for a little bit. Yeah.
Let's say if you get a call and then you have to go really quickly, is there a designated driver that goes, or is it just whoever gets there?
So what we do at Dorchester is we run 3 people on our engines. We have a firefighter, a captain, and an engineer. And our engineer is always going to be the one to drive. And then our captain's going to be in the front seat because he has a tablet that has all of our call information, like the address, where we're going, if there's any additional information for the call. And then you have me, which I'm the fireman. I'm in the back getting dressed, getting ready to go do whatever I need to do, or I'm the one grabbing the med bag off the truck and then going in. But we do always have one person that's always driving the truck. And sometimes, depending on what happens, maybe we'll have the captain drive. Like if our engineer is training and trying to promote to become a captain, Then the captain will take over the engineer spot for a shift or two. So then the engineer can kind of get a better idea of what it's like to kind of be in that captaincy and have that position. But more generally than that, it'll be our engineers that will drive. Yeah.
We hear that there's a deficiency of firefighters. How does that affect your work schedule, and what is your work schedule?
So my work schedule with Dorchester, I work a 48-96 schedule. So that means I'm at the station for 2 days straight, and then I'm off for 4 days straight. And with our recruitment, we're actually pretty well staffed right now. The only really openings that we have now are just a couple engineer positions from guys who have promoted to the captain position. But we still have enough people on our roster right now. And if there are open spots, a lot of times people will just like use that for overtime. So like if there's like an open shift on a truck, I can sign up for overtime and work that shift in the place of someone who wasn't working on that one because it's an open spot. Or sometimes they'll just have to run 2-man trucks depending on if there's enough people to be able to staff it. Because we do have what we call force lists. So they basically have a list of all the firemen, all the engineers, and all the captains. And if your name's at the top of that list and somebody calls out and no one takes that position, then they can force you to work an extra. So you can end up going from working a 48-hour shift to a 72 or maybe even a 96-hour shift. But it generally doesn't happen too much, and we try not to force people if we can avoid it, but it does happen sometimes.
So you running only 3 people on the truck?
Yes.
What if a house is full engulfed with fire?
So,
3 people, how many people on the hose?
so on the hose line, it'll be me and my captain, and then our engineer, he'll be on the pump panel. But we have other trucks, and
Guys get into the water system.
so our engineer, he's the one that's.
What water do you carry on the truck?
So we have 1,000 gallons on our apparatus, as well as 100 gallons of foam.
150 PSI?
Yes,
Takes about 5 minutes, you empty.
roughly. If we're using our water sparingly, we can probably last a little bit longer, but roughly about that. Yeah.
That's a lot to put on a couple of people.
Oh, no. But that's why we always have a lot of trucks coming in. In Somerville, they have 3-man engines, sometimes 4-man engines. In our department, too, sometimes we'll have 4 people on a truck. It just kind of depends on if we have any volunteers at the station with us riding on the trucks, or if they actually have a brand-new firefighter riding as a 4th man to learn the job.
Are you in Dorchester County or Somerville?
So I work for Dorchester County. But we do run a lot of mutual aid with the city of Somerville, like my station. Since we're like so close to the city limits, if Somerville gets a structure, depending on where it is, they can send us. Or if we get one in Jedburgh, a lot of times we can dispatch Somerville and they can come help us out too. Yeah.
What's the biggest accident you've been in?
So the biggest car accident I've had is only a two-car collision. I haven't had any more than 2 cars. Yeah. So the biggest emergency that I've gone to, probably it was out in Colleton County. We actually had an airplane that declared an emergency in the air, and we were all staging at the airport waiting for them to land because they had engine problems. So we were all staged at the end of the runway waiting for the plane to come in so we could help them, if the case of the plane caught on fire or it crashed onto the runway, which thankfully the pilot was able to bring it down smoothly with no issues. So we were able to cancel and clear up from that scene pretty quickly. Yeah.
What are the types of helmets you have to wear?
So the types of helmets that I wear, I only really just wear this kind right here, which is our regular structural firefighting helmet. But if you're on a specialty team like water rescue or rope rescue, they have like the smaller rescue helmets. But I am not on any of those teams at the moment. I'm still waiting to get some classes under my belt before I sign up for them. And you also have like different hoods for like hazmat suits, but they're all built into the suit. So we won't wear those underneath like our hazmat suits.
What is the helmet that's right up there? Is that the same one?
Yeah, so that's the same style as this one, but I believe that one is a leather helmet from what it looks like. But that's the same kind that I have. It's just that the reflective stickers on the top of his are just a little bit different than mine. Yep. Yeah.
When you use the phone to put out the fire,
So if it's like a smaller amount of foam that we use, it'll kind of go away on its own. Like it'll just kind of like soak into the ground, just kind of like clear itself up. But if we have like a really large scale incident and we have to use a ton of foam, like if it's like a really big tanker fire or even an aircraft incident, then yeah, we can dispatch our hazmat teams and they can come in and kind of help clean up a lot of that foam if needed. Yeah, our foams are biodegradable, so they do kind of degrade on their own over time. Yeah.
Tell me about your strength training, you work out the gym with the different machines that is required and how often you have to do it.
So a lot of departments, there really isn't a specific fitness regimen that's required for us, but we do have a thing called the JRAT, which is a job-related agility test, and they give that to everyone who interviews and signs on to the job. And the way that we had to do it at Dorchester County was they had us in the ladder truck with just workout clothes, an air pack, a helmet, and gloves. So we started off, we were sitting in the captain's seat with our air pack on. We got off the truck, went back into the truck, picked up what's called the high-rise pack, which is just a bunch of bundled up hose with a nozzle on it for high-rise fires. So we had to pick that up. We had to run it 50 feet. We had to drop it. And then we had to take a dummy, pick him up, and then we had to drag him 100 feet. And then we had to pull a tire 50 feet. And then we had to go up on the ladder truck, and we had to climb up the ladder 75 feet. And then we had to climb back down, and then we went onto a thing called the KED sled, which is like a heavy block on a sled. So like we'll take a hammer, and we'll kind of like hammer it back between our legs. And then after that, we had to run back and grab the high-rise pack from earlier, and then we had to run back and put it back on the truck.
So you work out the gym.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you use the KED sled for again?
So the KED sled, that's just kind of a workout tool that we use. It's not really anything that we would use on scene. It's just kind of to help us build strength and to help us train using tools like kind of like axes or any sledgehammers or anything. Yep. Yeah. So I unfortunately don't know where you can get them refilled because generally whenever the extinguishers are completely empty and they're discharged, you generally just kind of throw them away and just get new ones, which that would really be the safest option to do because that way they've already been inspected and then they've already been checked off and they're fit for use. So your best bet would just to kind of be to get a new one, but I can look up a place if there's any around that do refill the extinguishers, and I can get you that information. Yeah.
How tall do the ladders go?
So we have different types of ladders on our trucks. We carry 3 different kinds on our engines at Dorchester. So we have a 10-foot attic ladder, a 14-foot roof ladder, and then a 25-foot extension ladder. But now if you go on a ladder truck, like for Somerville's ladder trucks, they carry those same ladders, but they also have a 50-foot ladder, I believe, that's like a double extension, and then they have the big 100-foot aerial one that's mounted on the truck. Yep.
How do you feel about that
A little bit nervous. I'm just kind of, you don't really know like what's happening, like until you get on scene and you kind of like give yourself your size up and say, okay, we have this amount of fire here. If there's any victims or anything, which thankfully I haven't had to go in and rescue anyone yet. But it's a little bit nerve-wracking, but I mean, I'm good for the most part because I know I've got a good crew with me. I know they've got my back and I've got theirs. And I'm never going to be inside of there alone. Like I'm always going to have somebody with me, not far behind, in case something happens. Because they never let us go inside fires alone. There's always at least 2 or 3 of us that are in there, at minimum. Yep.
Just let you know, there's a business on Dorchester Road that does refill fire extinguishers
They do?
and pressurize them. And I can't, they do the argon gas tank,
Mm-hmm.
but they do saline bottles and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And that, but I cannot remember the name of them right now.
All right, Joe, yeah.
One business in Charlton is down close to the Charlton County Sheriff's Office on the North Dorchester Road. I know I used to get written up by the Somerville Fire Department every year because I needed to have my
So at our station, we actually rotate out who cooks. So there's only 3 of us at our station. So last week I cooked for the guys. I made a chicken Alfredo with garlic bread. So the next week, I believe it'll be my captain's turn to cook, and then the week after it'll be our engineer. But we all switch out every so often, and then in case like we get like a call like before we can make dinner, and we're on scene for an extended amount of time, generally we'll just go out and grab something at like a gas station or like McDonald's or something if we have to. But we generally try to cook in-house for most of our meals.
Father had several falls, and we called the EMT to come, but they always sent the fire department also. Why did the fire department come also?
So if we get a call for a fall, a lot of times they'll send fire and EMS just so we can help EMS if they need help picking up the patient off of the ground, or if they need extra hands in case like if they had like broken any bones or anything, or if they had any trauma. It's just so we can help out EMS if they need to. And a lot of times if we're closer than EMS, they'll send us to, that way we can make patient contact before they get there, and then we can give them a size up while they're en route, and we can monitor the patient before they get there. Yeah.
What's your daily schedule for what does it look like while you're in the station?
So a lot of the times, like when we're in the station in the mornings, we'll get our debrief from our guys. Just like they'll fill us in on what they did during shift and like any calls that they ran and anything else around the station that they did. And then we'll go in, we'll check off all of our equipment, like we'll run our saws, we'll run the engine, run the pump, make sure that's all working, all of our extrication equipment. We'll check that off as well as the other trucks we have in our station. We'll check them off, same thing, all the equipment, everything, make sure everything's good. Check all the lights, all the electronics on board, make sure everything, all the lights and all are working. And then during the day, it kind of really depends. Like it's different every shift. It just depends on like if we go out to a different station to do training, or if another station comes to us and we do training. If not, we'll just kind of work on little projects around the station, like cleaning up some stuff or like what have you. It could be like a lot of different things. Yeah. So I volunteer with Colleton County Fire Rescue. And I also work full-time with Dorchester County, and I volunteer with Walterboro Fire. So I just brought my stuff from Colleton because that's just the gear that I had on hand with me. I didn't have my Dorchester stuff ready to go. How many hours are in my day? So we're technically, like, when we're like, well, be on duty, we're on duty the whole 48 that we're there, but we're only really required to be like working from 7 a.m. to about 7 p.m. But then anything like after 7, 8 o'clock, that's kind of like our downtime. So we're not really required to really do anything like overnight. That's kind of like when we can chill out. That's when you volunteer. Oh, no, that's for my full time. So with our so if you're a volunteer, it's like in my case, like if I want, I can go ride on the engine at Colleton if I want. Like I can just like give them a heads up, like, hey, is it cool if I ride on the truck this day? Or is there a different day that I can come in and do it? And then when I'm there, I basically do the same exact thing as the full-timers at that department. Like I'll help them with the checkoffs, I'll help them do any station duties that they have, do any training, or if they get any calls, I'll go with them, I'll be on the truck and giving them a hand with whatever they need. Yeah, so on my days off when I volunteer, I can actually like pick and choose which calls I can go to. So like if there's a call that's like an hour or so away, I'm not required to go to it. But if it's a structure fire or like a really bad car wreck, I'll generally go anyway, even if it's an extended ETA for me, just because I'm there, I'm gonna help out. I'm generally not doing anything else. So I figured I'd make myself useful. Yeah.
Is there any times where you have to like jump off a building or something like that?
So,
Because I know in some trainings they have like firefighters run and hit glass and jump off the building.
so yeah, they do that in some departments. They do teach us how to bail out of windows if we have to, but we don't usually jump out of the building unless it's literally life or death. Like if I stay in that building a second longer, I will get caught in that fire. But generally they teach us if we have to bail out really quickly, we have webbing that we carry, and we carry our tools with us, and we'll tie like a harness or like a thing of webbing, and then we can throw that out the window. We can climb down and then drop down. Instead of jumping out of the window, we can kind of climb down a few feet to save us a little bit of height, and then we can just drop down and kind of tuck and roll if we can. But yeah, I really hope I'm never in an instance where I have to jump out. I just hope they got their trampoline set up. Yeah.
Do you have something where if a civilian can jump out, that you got something that they can jump onto?
So we don't really carry like the big trampolines anymore. A lot of times, like if we have a victim that's stuck in a bedroom, if they are able to, we can tell them to get to the window, and we can raise a ladder up to them, and then we'll climb up to them, and we can pick them up, and we can actually like kind of carry them out the window with us and assist them getting down the ladder. Or if they're unconscious, we can go and pick them up and we can carry them down. But we always like try to throw ladders up and then carry up and bring them down a ladder instead of chucking them out the window, because that's not really the safest thing for the patient, especially if they're injured and they have any spinal injuries. Because our biggest concern if they do is we have to hold that C-spine so we don't hurt them even more than they are already. And the best, safest way for them to do that is if we go up the ladder and we climb and bring them out.
But so, length of the ladder that you have right now, how high up will it go? How many stories of the building? Is it sort of growing? Who knows how high the next building will be?
So our ground ladders, generally we can reach the second story window as well as maybe even the roof of a two-story house. But anything that's above 3 stories, we'll extend the ladder off of our ladder trucks. So most aerial ladder trucks go up 100 feet. Some can go up more, some can go less. It just kind of depends on what the department has and what they need. I know the aerial platforms for Somerville Fire, if I'm not mistaken, are 100-foot aerials, as well as the aerials for Colleton County are 100 feet, as well as Dorchester. So we all kind of have like the same, because there's not too terribly many high rises in our areas, so we don't really have any need for anything over like 100 feet, but we do carry them.
They're adding on to the hospital down here on this road, Somerville Hospital in that.
Yeah, so I know yes, I know they're adding on to that hospital, and I'm not sure if Somerville Fire is getting any new ladder trucks to accommodate for that, but I have not heard anything because you know I don't work for Somerville, so I just kind of catch whatever I hear from like my captains talking or anything like that. 100 feet, kind of depending on the building. I'd say roughly about 5 or 6. Yeah, it just kind of depends on how tall the stories are and how separated they are. Yeah.
How long have you been a firefighter?
So I started as a volunteer with Colleton in fall of 2021. And then I became a fully certified firefighter in December of 2022. Yeah.
How long does it take to the ladder to extend its full height?
So for the ladder to extend full height from being on the truck is kind of dependent on what type it is. Like if it's a tractor-drawn aerial or if it's just like one big truck. Generally, it takes about maybe a minute or so to fully extend it from like 0 feet to like all the way up to the full 100. Yeah.
Is it scary going up the ladders?
It can be. The higher you go, the kind of a little more sketchy it is. But I mean, I'm never too worried about it because I know I've got people on the ground holding the ladder steady, and I'm just kind of focusing on why I'm going up the ladder and what I'm doing. So I generally try not to think about it. But it's not terrible. It's not the most fun thing to do because I really don't like going way up on the ladders, but I do anyway. It's just a part of the job. Yeah.
Is there any part of your training that's fun?
So a lot of it, actually all of it was pretty fun. I remember, I think one thing that kind of sticks out was when we were doing our initial search and rescue training, they had some double wide and single wide trailers behind the fire station where I did my classes, and they had the fog machines that they use at like haunted houses, and they completely smoked out the trailers, and they had dummies inside, and we had to crawl inside, and we had to run and we had to find the dummies, and we had to pull them out. But that was pretty fun. That was a really fun part of my when I was doing my training to become a firefighter.
You ever been to Columbia?
No, sir, I have not been to the fire academy in Columbia, other than just for the ARF class.
Go to Columbia, go through the maze, full bumper gear with
Yeah.
LCBA.
Oh yeah, I've heard their maze is really like, it's crazy.
Yeah, I used to work at DuPont. We built our own couple trailers we put together, built a maze. Some of the guys I work with, they like to play firemen all the time.
Yeah, those mazes are fun.
It's pretty neat to you.
Oh yeah, and I know sometimes at our,
You get all the weight, and then you carrying all that bumper gear, then you get tired of it.
oh yeah, I know sometimes at our station, we'll do something kind of similar to a maze. Like we'll pull all the trucks out of the engine bay, and then we'll take some of our spare hoses from the equipment room, and then we'll stretch them out around the station and put like different obstacles, like we'll put tables or chairs or whatever, and then I'll be blacked out with my mask. I'll have my flash hood over my mask, and then I grab onto the hose and I kind of trace it all the way through the station.
One thing you might want to explain to them that when you're in a fire, you cannot see anything.
Yeah, when you're
If you
in,
get the thermal layer down, you won't see flame or anything, it's totally black.
yeah, when you're inside, it is pitch black. If you're lucky, you might see an orange glow from the fire, but you will not see the flames themselves, especially if it's a really thick black smoke. That's why a lot of times when we're inside, we try to stay low, and we rely on our sense of touch to kind of feel our way around. Like we'll kind of try to stick to a wall. Like if we're doing search and rescue, like we'll stay on the wall and go around for our primary search. Like we'll go quick, kind of if there's anyone nearby the wall or like anything in the room, and then when the smoke clears up a little bit more, then we'll send guys in and do a secondary, and that's a lot bit more thorough search. But yeah, inside it is very dark. You can do this and not see your hand.
You have to be really low to the ground because the toxicity in the gases in the fire.
Yeah.
If you don't have SCBA, get low and crawl out.
Oh yeah. Yeah, if you ever find yourself trapped in a fire, stay as low as you can and just try to feel your way around. But always be as low as possible because all that heat rises, so you won't be terribly burned, and the smoke will be up top and it'll work its way down, like the thermal layering. Yeah.
Would you explain how you get staff rest and sleep on a 48-hour shift? If some of you sleep and some of you are awake, or everybody depending on the alarm bell or what?
So I know a lot of times at night, like generally, like we'll turn in for the night, and like we have bunk rooms at our station. Like we'll go to bed at night, like generally around like 10 o'clock or so, and then we'll keep radios on max volume right next to us. So if any calls come out, we'll hear it. But they do let us sleep at night though, and occasionally, sometimes, like if we have a really high call volume and we're just running one after another, we'll probably try to catnap a little bit during the day, just because we're running so often. But generally, though, we'll get some rest at night. It just kind of depends on how merciful our dispatchers are to us. No, I'm only at a single-story fire station. We don't have any poles, unfortunately. I'm working on that, though. I'm putting in a request. I want to get a pole from the top bunk down to the floor, but.
Knowing y'all, it'd probably be like a stripper pole.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, on that note, Pastor hasn't come back, so I'm concerned that he's eating all of our lunch. So since it's afternoon, maybe we should head over there. But Will, thanks again so much for
Yeah,
coming.
of course.
I'm sure if you have more questions, he would love to be bombarded with questions while he's trying to eat. So you're welcome to go over and do that. But let's give one more round of applause and we'll head over there.
All right. Thank y'all. All right, let's eat.